powered by Riverside FM.
£10 a month. Is this a lot of money? It's a similar price to many subscription services. It is also the monthly contribution required to become a member of a lottery syndicate organised by colleagues in my team. A lottery syndicate is more collaborative and less suspicious than it first sounds. Essentially, all members contribute a set fee that goes into a communal kitty. This is used to purchase lottery tickets every week, with the agreement that if there is to be a large win, this would be split equally between all members of the syndicate. Small wins instead just go back into the syndicate's overall funds. The rationale is that by clubbing together, you hope to increase the chances of a big win. Across the syndicate as a whole, you will be buying 10 or maybe 20 tickets. But on top of that, it's also seen as a bit of fun that helps with team bonding. However, when I was presented with the chance to join the syndicate, I became the first person to opt out. The decision was primarily instinctive. I've never played the lottery, and I didn't intend to start. I also recognised that while the potential prizes are very large, splitting them 14 ways really diminishes their value, and only the largest of the prizes available in the lottery would really be life-changing. Hence, I chose to opt out and keep my £10 a month. However, there was one risk I didn't take account of. That's the risk that the syndicate did win, and with the financial windfall, all chose to leave their jobs, leaving me holding the baby of doing all of the team's work. Nevertheless, opting out was my choice, with my expectation that my monthly £10 notes would be piling up quite quickly. For everyone else in the team, they would be paying out £10 a month, and every month I'd be nearly £10 up on them. Not exactly £10, because they would win some mostly small prizes. Indeed, delving into the expected returns from the lottery is quite insightful. The particular lottery in question is the UK Lotto. Entering this lottery costs £2 per ticket. With each ticket, you must select 6 numbers in the hope that these will match the 6 numbers drawn at random during the lottery. Matching just 2 numbers is worth some form of prize, with greater amounts of matching leading to prizes increasing in value all the way up to the jackpot if you match all 6 numbers. The mathematics of the lottery tells you that on average, for every £2 ticket you buy, you can expect a return of only 76 pence. i.e., for every ticket that you buy, mathematically, you would expect to lose £1.24. Continuing with this deep dive for a second, one further point of interest is that the contributions to that expected value are different across the different combinations of matching numbers. The greatest contribution comes from matching 3 numbers, i.e., the expected value of matching 3 numbers is 31 pence out of the total 76 pence. The chance of matching 6 numbers only contributes 4 pence to the overall expected value. That is because whilst the prize associated with the 6 numbers is incredibly large, it's also incredibly statistically unlikely, and disproportionately so compared to matching 3 numbers. Of course, looking at expected returns in this cold hard mathematical way isn't really the main motivator for purchasers of lottery tickets. Some justify it to themselves on the basis that some of the funding goes towards public causes and charities. This is an appealing justification, but is clearly less effective than donating directly to those causes. Rather, my suspicion is that most people who buy lottery tickets are not doing so on a statistical basis, but what they're really doing is purchasing a feeling of hope, a sense that there is a real opportunity of something life-changing happening for them. In any case, let me return to my workplace syndicate. After a few months of not having participated, the syndicate had also been unsuccessful. and I was acutely conscious that I had saved a few £10 notes. There was some associated banter between myself and those in the syndicate, with them pointing out just how risk-averse I was. I didn't consider myself particularly risk-averse, just shunning what seemed like a poor financial investment, which made me consider whether there were alternative mechanisms I should explore, which I could propose to the team, and which would lose money less quickly than the lottery syndicate. With the lottery having a negative expected value of more than £1 for every £2 ticket, what sprang to mind was something as simple as roulette, which also has a negative expected value because of the stake that the casino takes, but one which is only marginal compared to the lottery. But in contemplating roulette, I was also reminded of a statistical betting approach I had heard of that was based on the mathematical function of a martingale. It is a scheme that at first glance looks infallible and promises certain win. A martingale works as follows. You find something which is a 50-50 bet. So let's take roulette and the opportunity to bet on black or red as the example. You take £1 and bet it on one colour. In this example, we'll stick with betting on red throughout. If you win, hooray! You've doubled your money and you have £1 of profit. You follow up by betting another £1 on red. You continue to do this until a time where you lose, i.e. the roulette wheel comes up black. At this point, you would have lost £1 on that individual bet. But never fear. You've got another opportunity. Now you double your bet and you place £2 on red. If you win, you receive £2 back, compensating you for that first lost £1 and giving you an additional £1. Again, from the sequence of bets, you're £1 up. And that is the essence of the strategy. Every time you lose, you double your bet. If you lose several times in a row, your bet starts to grow quite quickly. So if you experienced a £1 bet which came up black, followed by a £2 bet which came up black, followed by a £4 bet that came up black, you would have lost £4, £2 and £1. £7 in total. But again, never fear. Now you bet £8 on red, and if it comes up red, you win £8, offsetting that £7 loss and giving you one additional £1 of profit. As a sequence of bets, you're still net positive. Thus, on the face of it, this seems like an infallible strategy. Indeed, as a mathematical quirk, it can be, depending on how you interpret infinity. But in practice, it absolutely is not. There are two key constraints to consider. One is that sooner rather than later, you'll find yourself betting an amount of money that you don't have. The second is that you will find at some point the house or the casino won't wish to accept a bet because of its scale. It may seem unlikely that you might experience black 5, 6 or 7 times in a row, but it will happen. And when it does, you'll suddenly find yourself in the ridiculous position of betting something like £1,028 just to win £1. Returning to the example with my colleagues, I had these 3 £10 notes that I felt I had to spare. So this is what transpired. I thought I'd give a martingale a go. It started red. Fantastic. So far so good. Red again. This is easy. Black. Not so good. But that was bound to happen. Black again. Okay, so now we're up to betting £4. And this time it's red. So great. Another £1 up. The scheme works. Let's go back to the beginning. This continued for a short period, but much less long than I thought, before suddenly black, 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 black. I was in the hole for £31. I had the opportunity to bet another 32. If I did, and it came up red, all would be good, and I would return back to profit. But if I lost again, I would now be down nearly £63, faced only with the prospect of having to bet another 64 at a 50-50 rate. I pulled the plug, somewhat crestfallen that my alternative scheme had turned out to be disastrous. But then I paused. Was I really down £31? Actually, I wasn't. I was down less than this, because I've had a sequence of winning £1 several times at the beginning. Thus, if I net that off my £31, I was still less than £30 down. I'd outperformed the lottery. I'd done it. I'd found a way to lose money only slowly.